Hey everybody, Jared Jones. Standing in front of one of my newest flips. I'm going to take you inside this beauty. Florida's bustling right now because Hurricane Ian is heading underway, so everybody's at home from work, correcting boarded windows and things of that nature. Hey, the Fed had just confirmed something that I had been telling you about, warning that all these remote workers being called back into the city of origin for their job was either going to create massive layoffs or it was going to create people having to panic sell, force sell in a marketplace where there's actually really historically low demand, causing, worse problems for the market. And that was validated yesterday. Last night, I didn't even know this, but yesterday, Bloomberg broke the story that the San Francisco Fed had run a study. There was a Brown University professor, econ mathematics professor, and some employees of the Fed who are probably quants of some sort, were basically looking at how much remote work movement over the past 2 years inflated the economy. And they found a very, very high correlation that, that at least, I think the statistic was around half of the margin of inflation directly correlated to how many people were moved around the country because they could go and live in another city that was cheaper or the amenities were nicer, and how that I've been reporting in the last month, how the saber rattling of companies pushing people, saying, hey, look, you have to come back to your job now. A lot of the feedback that I got, particularly from that situation, from you that work remote, was that, hey, look, I will quit, and the other thing, we're seeing ever since the pandemic hit, remote work is on the decline, okay? So for all the people that were saying, hey, look, this thing is gonna last, you had the pandemic hit, and then we went up to about 60% of the workforce going remote, and now it's down around 30%. So half of those folks have been called back or have been replaced with people who will work inside the office, and it's dropping. Okay, now the reason why that's important is because all of these people moved and now they reside in cities that they do not live near their job, and they're going to have to sell a house or they're going to have to quit their job. None of those are good options for the economy. You got to understand that when you're talking about deflating the economy, bringing inflation under control, home prices are there, even though home prices are not in the CPI. It's in the crosshairs of leadership. It's in the crosshairs of the banking cartels. Larry Fink of BlackRock, I told this story a few weeks ago. He said, look, this is good that we push people back to their jobs. And now it's happening, and now layoffs are increasing because people aren't going to do it. And here's the problem, okay? Listen to this. If you've been tracking the economy, some of the things I've been reporting recently is the M1 money supply. So, sorry, not M1, M2 money supply. The amount of money being saved, being held by individuals is dropping for 5 months, almost 6 months now. So people's reserves are now going the other direction. Obviously, when stimmy checks were out there and people were able to get easy money from the federal government, people had capital. They weren't going out and spending their money, and they had it sitting in the bank. And now there's been a troubling trend that people are now becoming broke, right? I also did a report recently about how many people are now evidently experiencing high credit. Their revolving credit's going up. They're putting more money on credit cards just to get by. And here's the interesting thing, okay? So let's take all this to a new summary, something I haven't shared with this channel, is that when you have this happen, okay? Number one, remote worker gets pushed back to the city that they came from. So now they have to get a lease, okay? So I have to go back to wherever I came from. When I get there, I'm not gonna be ready to buy a home, and there's such a short time frame. I'm going to rent a house. So if I'm gonna rent a house, I have to take care of my debt load back where I bought that house in Florida, in Miami, in Orlando, in Las Vegas, all these marketplaces that took on a ton of remote workers and blew their prices out of the water. They have to do something with those particular that debt service. Now, if they put on the market, they are screwed, especially if they moved in the past 6 months, okay? Because we're already seeing historic price loss. CNBC, Diana Orlick, who's a really good journalist for the housing market, came out and said, hey, she penned the fact that Case-Shiller index has dropped historically low in July. Lowest we've ever seen a downward trend on the Case-Shiller index for housing. You have a softening market. I'm standing in a flip right now that I'm about to flip, okay? This thing looks like it was bombed. It looks like a Baghdad, Beirut special. And when I bring these houses back to market a month later, 2 months later, I'm already finding that I'm 3-4% under my projected exit price from when I purchased it, okay? So that's not good. That is a rapidly changing environment. And it's keeping with what we're seeing from the number standpoint. We're seeing price drop in most of these markets by 1%, 2% month over month, where they were going up 2 or 3% every month. It's a 3-4% swing, and that's big. That's a big change. And so when you start thinking about people having to liquidate property, that's gonna be problematic for people getting out of the market. It's gonna drop prices lower. Interest rates are climbing. I told you in August, I told you in August that this was gonna happen. The QT, the announcements that Powell has made, is only gonna make interest rates worse, okay? And so with all that, if you quit your job, okay, wages and savings particularly are dwindling for all these people that they quit their job. They are in trouble because then what are they gonna do? Okay, well, I'm sitting on a house. So here's the other argument. Everybody's like, there's equity everywhere. You know, if they get in trouble, if they get in trouble financially, they have equity. They can just borrow the money out. Well, you can't borrow the money out when you're unemployed, okay? Think about that. You give your job up, then the work field that you're in likely hired remote workers, so you literally probably live in the wrong city to even take another job with another company because they're gonna want you to come in person, which means then you're forced, like, you know, my savings are dwindling, I'm sitting in a house that has equity, how do I get it out? FHA changed the rules, you cannot get your money out of your house if you're unemployed. Imagine that. It's not good, folks. None of this points in a good direction. And I think it's very interesting. I think BlackRock knew, I think Larry Fink watches data. I'm pretty sure he could understand, he might have had access to data about the remote worker situation and the research going on, you know, that they have data that's beyond what we have across every market segment. And when he starts pushing for this, you know, it's only gonna go in a bad direction. Many of you saw it coming. Some of you said in the comments, hey, you know what? Right when they announced all this dispersion, like, oh, you can go live wherever you want, I knew this was a trap, okay? And I honestly think we've got some very, very bad times ahead. Those of you that think that, I'm seeing a lot of other famous YouTubers, Economic Ninja, I don't want to call people out because then, you know, you end up a brunt of their next video. But some of these people are, I mean, a lot of people are saying, oh, there's a pivot coming, there's a pivot coming. There's no pivot coming. The Fed is moving so slowly to curb inflation, it's ridiculous. This is a slow kill of the Western economy, mark it down. But if I'm wrong, mention it in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. As always, thanks for watching, appreciate your feedback, appreciate your support. Give this video a like, it'd help us a ton. And as always, please subscribe to the channel. It means a lot. Jared cut this into the middle. Hey, before I get too far into this, do me a favor, hit the like button right now. It'd help me a ton. It's totally free. It'll help me, helps YouTube. And you can take it back if the video sucks. Secondly, subscribe to the channel. 90% of you still aren't. Hit the subscribe button. We'll see you real soon.